Hey y'all, it's me, Dree. So today we are starting with serenity, balance, and awakening. So this feels like a very important progression because serenity, that is about remaining calm and centered despite the challenges that are happening around y'all. Then we move into balance. This is where the collective is navigating a transition and learning how to find their equilibrium within that experience. And ultimately, I'm getting that leads us to awakening. That's a deeper realization, a deeper truth, something the collective is finally able to see and understand for themselves. Now let's get into this message. We are starting with the Five of Swords, the Ace of Cups, the Two of Cups. So with this Five of Swords, I'm noticing something right away. There's a conflict. The conflict is coming out first. So that tells me that the collective experienced this conflict first. So something happened within y'all's environment that created maybe hostility, tension, some kind of defeat. But the word that stands out to me the most on this card today, self-sacrificing, because I'm getting that. Whatever this conflict was, there was something about remaining within it that was asking the collective to sacrifice some part of themselves. And then we have an Ace of Cups. I'm getting this is almost like a blow of emotion, because immediately following the conflict, we get a card that talks about overflowing emotion. This is about love, joy, and emotional openness. And with this Ace of Cups being upright, I gotta say, I'm getting that this wave of emotion, that is genuine. And then we have a Two of Cups. So I have to say this too. A Two of Cups, this is a soul bond connection. This is mutual feelings, companionship. This is a genuine love exchange. This is two people who are genuinely in sync with one another. So now the question has to become, why the conflict, right? And also, why such a heavy wave of emotion immediately following it? Because this Five of Swords is directly connected to an Ace of Cups and a Two of Cups. And with the Two of Cups coming after the Ace, that only doubles down on the connection itself not being the issue. The emotion between these two people, it's genuine. Their exchange was genuine. The bond, that's genuine too. So I'm getting that whatever is holding this connection, whatever is surrounding it or happening within the environment around it, that naturally has to be where the conflict actually lies, right? And now this emotion of serenity makes perfect sense Because serenity is not saying that everything around the collective is peaceful right now. Serenity is asking the collective to remain calm and centered despite the challenge. And that matters here because the emotion matters. The connection I'm getting, that matters too. But also, the self-sacrificing conflict, that really matters, doesn't it? And now the collective is being asked to stay centered enough to recognize all of those things at the very same time. And then that brings us to this emotion of balance. And we start the second column with the Four of Cups reversed, the Two of Wands reversed, and the Knight of Wands. So, with the Four of Cups reversed, this card tells me that in spite of the conflict, the collective stayed engaged. Y'all did not immediately shy away from what was happening. Y'all stayed present. Y'all watched. Y'all observed. And y'all gave yourselves enough time to fully understand what exactly was happening within this interaction. But this card also tells me that while the collective remained engaged, they also stayed self-aware. And the distinction with that is important, because staying engaged does not mean abandoning yourselves inside of the experience. What it means is that y'all remained present long enough to gather the information y'all needed. And I'm getting that. While the collective was doing all that, we move into the Two of Wands. So this is reassess, make adjustments, define your purpose. So while the collective was watching and observing, they were also working out exactly where they stood around the conflict that had shown up within this new connection. What exactly is happening here? How do y'all feel about it? Where is y'all's position within it? And do y'all actually want to participate in whatever this is now becoming? And then the second column ends with this Knight of Wands. And this card really just says everything right here, right now. Because the Knight of Wands, this card is notoriously known for being lusty energy. This card literally says, swept off your feet, shameless flirt. It says sexy. It says charmer. So this card is about flirtation. It's about excitement, passion, heat. So I'm getting that this Knight of Wands energy is what created the conflict within this fresh connection. And when we take it all the way back to this Five of Swords and add in that self-sacrificing energy to this, that tells me that whatever is going on within this conflict is significant enough for the collective to really tune in with where exactly this is headed, and really whether or not they want to be involved in it. And this is why balance was necessary, you see? The collective did not need to immediately react. Y'all needed to stay engaged. Y'all needed to observe. Y'all needed to remain self-aware, and y'all needed enough time to define your exact position around what it is that y'all were seeing. And I'm getting that all that reflection, all of that observation, all of that assessment the collective took the time to do, well, that leads to a real awakening within the energy field. And the awakening begins with this Ace of Wands, this Magician, and then the Eight of Cups. So, I don't feel that this Ace of Wands belongs to the collective. I'm feeling that this Ace of Wands belongs to the Knight. They're the ones that brought this kind of energy into the environment, because this is passionate energy, attraction, chemistry, sexual energy. This is something being ignited within the dynamic. And then we get the Magician. So, the Knight brought the Ace of Wands into the environment. And that decision was taken as inspired action. And yes, collective, this Magician card is notoriously known as the manipulator of the tarot. And I think manipulation is definitely here. But then we have to ask, what is the result that this Knight is trying to manipulate? Is it the Ace of Wands? Are they trying to manipulate a passionate start? That sounds plausible. But the spread ends on the Eight of Cups, and this comes after the Magician. There's a lot of cups here, y'all. So that tells me there's a lot of real emotion here. We have an Ace of Cups. We have the Two of Cups. We got the Four of Cups. And now we end with the Eight of Cups. So I'm getting that the purpose of bringing this passionate energy into the environment was not only for a passionate start, but it may well also have been to get someone within this trio to abandon their position. And I just need to say it because I know it in my bones. This collective is not the crowd that chases. This collective is not the crowd who competes. And what's more, I'm getting strongly that the collective comes to the stark conclusion that there are simply too many people and too many energies involved for something that originally presented itself as a Two of Cups. And I'm just going to say this too, to be completely transparent here. I have to ask, where was the other side of this connection throughout all of this? Because the collective certainly couldn't have just been left in the field to cope with this all by themselves. Could they have been? from somebody with a soul bond type energy? From the way these cards have landed, it looks like the collective was left by themselves to deal with this. And that makes me think that maybe there's more than one manipulator in the group. Perhaps it's the person that started the Two of Cups. Perhaps it's this Knight of Wands energy. Perhaps it's both of them. In either case, I don't think that it matters, because the collective, y'all stayed engaged, y'all observed, y'all remained self-aware, and y'all assessed the conflict. Y'all defined your position. But I have to ask again, where was the other person who made up this Two of Cups while all of this was happening? Because you guys, if this was a genuine exchange, if this was a genuine emotional opening, if this was a genuine Two of Cups kind of connection, then there are very well two responsible people for what happened to this connection. And in this case, it makes sense that because, well, no one defended the connection, the collective eventually had to make the decision that this was not the correct destiny for this connection to land. And I'm getting with that the lusty knight creates exactly what they intended to create. And maybe it was at the direction of this other person that we won't ever know. But what we do know, there is a departure and there is a real ending. But I think the real awakening for the collective is bigger than this ending itself. Because what happened here, collective, this is not just simply integration anymore. This is embodiment. Because the collective didn't chase. Y'all didn't compete. Y'all didn't sacrifice yourselves to hold on to a connection that no one else appeared willing to protect. Y'all stayed centered enough to understand what was happening. Y'all stayed engaged long enough to know exactly where y'all stood. And then y'all embodied who it is that y'all actually are. Y'all looked at a connection containing very real emotion, and y'all recognized that real emotion alone, that does not make an environment right for them. And when nobody defended the connection from the conflict surrounding it, and getting the collective defended themselves, y'all walked away. And I think this is where I want to leave y'all, because, I don't know, doing the work does not make these moments easy. Being healed enough to recognize what is happening does not mean that it doesn't hurt. And being self-aware does not mean y'all won't feel the emotion that comes with it. And being embodied, that does not mean y'all won't grieve what could have been. But what it means is that y'all are staying aligned to yourselves, even when the emotional, easier choice might be to abandon y'all's own position just to have kept the connection. But this collective did not do that. Y'all stayed present. Y'all observed what it was that was happening. Y'all made sure to feel everything that was there to feel. And y'all gave yourselves enough time to understand what actually was happening. And when the answer became clear, well, y'all made a decision that matched who y'all have become. And that does not make the ending easy, but it does make it aligned. And I want to say this, collective, as long as y'all keep choosing alignment with yourselves, as long as y'all keep honoring what y'all's own inner knowing is showing y'all, and as long as y'all refuse to abandon yourselves just to preserve access to another person, then even if things are ending, those endings, they are still moving y'all forward. Because sometimes the evidence that the work is working is not that the reality changes. It's that y'all see it, accept it for what it is. Y'all stop fighting it, and y'all simply walk away. And that's the message that I have for y'all today. So if this one landed, then please like my message. And if you made it to the end, then leave me a comment and let me know. And make sure y'all are following along. And most importantly, remember, where there is love, there is light. I'll see y'all again real soon.